Good evening. We're going to call this meeting to order, and we are going to, I'm going to have our city attorney, we have closed session, so I'll have him lead us into closed session.
Perfect. Thank you. We've got five items on closed session. Three of them real property negotiations. The first one is real property negotiations pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding the property 105 North Leland Highway. North Leland Norton Way. The second one, the property address is portions of former Norton Air Force Base Parcel A, hangar number 763, Bays 1 and 2. The third real property negotiation is former Norton Air Force Base Parcel B1C East. Item number 4 is pending litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9 subsection A regarding Franco versus SBIAA. And the last matter is same Government Code section related to Lee versus SBIAA.
Thank you. I'm going to do roll call.
Thank you. If you can please state your name for the record. Member from the City of Colton.
John Echeverria.
Member from the City of Loma Linda.
Dusty Rigsby.
Member from the City of Highland.
Penny Lilburn.
And members from the City of San Bernardino.
Helen Tran.
Theodore Sanchez.
Thank you. And I'd like to note for the record that Mayor Pro Tem Larry McCallan and Mayor Pro Tem Fred Schredt are in the audience.
Great, thank you. Okay, I have no public comment speaker slips. Do you have any speaker slips?
No, we do not.
Great, okay, well, at this time we'll go ahead and recess to closed session. Okay, we'll reconvene, and I'll look to our attorney for any report on closed session.
As to all 5 matters on closed session, no reportable action was taken, but direction was given.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, at this time we're going to call to order our open session, and I'm going to ask John with the City of Colton to lead us into the pledge.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, John. Any items to be added or deleted from the agenda?
No items.
Great, thank you. Any conflict of interest? Is now the time to report. So we'll move on to item G, informational items, and I'll look to Mike.
So we're going to start with a hot off the press announcement that happened this morning, and we're going to play you a little video. So that is our newest addition to the Breeze Network, February 7th. You'll be able to go nonstop, San Bernardino to Provo, and do that if you so choose. So
That was beautiful.
it's home video. That's Mr. Gibbs, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, we're cheap, so we just did a backyard video there.
That was beautiful.
I said no, but I'm open to royalties.
But our next item, I'd like Mr. Galvin to give you an update on our ARF fleet.
Thank you, Mike. As you know, the airport is required by the FAA to maintain aircraft fire and rescue equipment, or also known as ARF, in case of an emergency. The ARF program requires us to have a functional piece of equipment or pieces of equipment to respond to those emergencies, and in addition to that, have contingencies in place to respond to those critical situations for the safety of the airfield. Recently, we were extended the opportunity by our partners and neighbors over at Ontario Airport to acquire a new, to us, ARF truck. We, of course, seized the opportunity and made the investment. I'm happy to report that we are now the proud owners of an Oshkosh T3000 that will go into service as one of the primary ARF response vehicles to support the SPD emergency response team efforts. The truck will go into service mid-January after it gets its final touches with the SPD logo.
It's kind of cool looking, actually.
And John, explain how you paid for such vehicle.
Yeah, so part of the partnership is with Ontario, and we've done this in the past where they've provided an ARF rig for us, and in return, we've paid for their ARF personnel training.
Very nice. They're training out here?
Correct.
So that obviously runs through the Fire JPA's program.
Very
right on site.
creative. Good job.
It's not a horse, but it was traded. So. And then next is Mr. Gibbs on our capital improvement program.
Thank you, Mike. The Federal Aviation Administration, we'll call them the FAA for short, it's a lot easier to say, has a grant program that provides funding for big infrastructure projects. They call it the Airport Improvement Program, and it's available to airports that are designated by the FAA to be part of the National Plan of Integrated Airport System, NIPIAS for short. And part of that grant program requires that we identify and have an iterative process with the FAA when it comes to what's going to be on our CIP. So this is our federal CIP that we work very closely with the FAA on. We project out 5 to 6 years, a list of projects, and there's a certain amount of funds that are available to the airport, and that's based on our status as now a primary airport, so we get entitlement funds for the number of passengers, we get entitlement funds for the amount of cargo, and there's also a different pot of money that the FAA is also managing that was enacted into law several years ago as part of bill funds. So we're required to lay all that out and list out the projects and the engineered estimate amounts to fund those projects. And this is what it looks like. So we wanted to run this by you, show you what that SIP process looks like. Again, this is an ongoing back and forth with the FAA that we do throughout the year. And throughout the years, I think is the better way to put it. This one runs 2025 through 2030. Those are the list of some of the bigger capital items that are eligible for grant funds. A lot of things aren't through the AIP program, but what you'll see here is a lot of items that are big construction, typically either concrete or asphalt projects. There's other things that can be funded through this program, but that's the primary meat of it as we catch up on the list of deferred items out on the airfield prior to us getting entitlement funds that we're now eligible for, particularly over the last several years as our activity has increased. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions of Mark? Great, thank you. And now the other Mark.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Audit update. Ide Bailey is our auditors for SBIAA, and they are just entered into the beginning of field work this week. We expect to have a serviceable draft for submission for continuing disclosure by the end of December and get that submitted, and I will update you as we continue to go forward with that. Thank you.
And that concludes our reports.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mark Cousineau? Okay, we'll move on to consent calendar.
Move it.
Second. We have a motion and second. Roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion by Member Rigsby and a second by Member Tran. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Tran?
Yes.
And Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commission items. Item 10, consider and adopt proposed budget adjustments for the fiscal year 23-24.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And this action is consider and approve budget adjustment of revenues in excess of expenses in the amount of $233,000.
The requested adjustments are comprised of revenues of increase of $591,000 in lease and license revenues from increased demand from month-to-month parking, vacant land, buildings, and hangars. Well, we have a high demand for all of our assets at this point in time. Increased uses or expenses is $210,000. In budget class 51, if you'll recall, at the beginning of this fiscal year, we implemented and are migrated to a new accounting system, which also included a change in moving from line item account budgeting to class account budgeting. And by that, for example, the easiest one I can think of is we have one budgetary control class for utilities, but we still have separate accounts for electrical, gas, water, so forth, to be able to sit there. And that allows us to then not have to come and manage our line item budgets without having to come to the commission to make approvals if we have enough within that class budget. And with that said, what we're asking for is $210,000 for personal services, and that includes wages, employer payroll taxes, defined contribution, or contributions for our defined contribution retirement plan. And this is arising from updated estimates on actuals that through November obtained from our new accounting information system, and reflects ongoing, and I would call cascading, of internal promotions within and between our airfield operational departments, and that support our passenger cargo and Luxaver FBO services. There's also another piece of that, and that is a $73,000 increase that we estimate for reimbursement for services to IVDA. IVDA provides a lot of the central support services, finance, accounting, human resources, risk management, the executive office, and general administration. And the final piece is a $75,000 increase in budget class 63 for a capital project, increasing that for FBO improvements, one for a public-facing area around the hospitality bar, as well as back of the house that also supports customers in our kitchen facility, as well as our food prep and storage areas. And that's reached the end of, I won't say its useful life, but there need to be updated some appliances as well as some furnishings. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions of staff? Move for approval. We have a motion for approval.
Second.
And a second from Rigsby. Call for the vote.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion by Member Tran and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Tran?
Yes.
And Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 11, we're going to ratify the procurement of some equipment, and we'll turn that over to Mr. Gelfand.
Thank you, Mayor. As mentioned, this item is to ratify the purchase of a John Deere tractor and Alamo deck. The airport has several acres of infield in between the runway and taxiways, which must be maintained for the purpose of wildlife management, safety, and the overall FAA compliance of the airfield. Following procurement policy, staff researched through an existing procurement co-op agreement for the type of equipment needed on our airfield. RDO Equipment is the certified local dealer that sells John Deere equipment under this co-op agreement. Time was of the essence on this item and had to be procured last month in November to prevent significant increase in price. Therefore, following purchasing procedures for such a situation, our CEO contacted the Commission President to complete the purchase before the end of the month. With the consent from the President, this item is presented for your consideration to ratify. Staff recommends the Commission approve this ratification.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just a quick question, and I'm going to vote yes, but what was the procurement co-op that we used for that?
I'd have to defer to John on that.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Procurement co-op?
Yeah, the procurement co-op that you use. Which
The-
one is it?
I don't recall off the top of my head. That we have.
Just send an email with it.
Okay.
I'm curious which one we're using.
Sure. We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
definitely
that's fine.
disclose that information.
Who to approve?
We have a motion to approve by Teddy Sanchez
Second.
And a second by Dusty Rigsby. We'll call roll call.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Sanchez and a second by Member Rigsby. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Tran?
Yes.
And Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12, award a contract, construction contract to GEO Paving and Seal Coating, and that's Mr. Barrow.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the award construction contract that would authorize Geo Paving and Seal Coating Incorporated to perform asphalt repairs at the existing general aviation aircraft ramp near Hangar 333 for our new tenant. Award of this construction contract for Geo Paving and Seal Coating Incorporated in amount not to exceed $77,500 for the general aviation ramp repair project, and authorize the Chief Executive Officer to execute all related documents. Funding for this project is included in the approved San Bernardino International Airport Authority fiscal year 2024-2025 budget capital project fund, project number 25S053, ramp repair, for which $100,000 of this was allocated and which $77,500 is allocated for this project. Staff reached out to 4 qualified firms. Geo Paving was the lowest and qualified firm for the project. Staff recommended the commission approve the above recommended action item. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Jeff? Okay. Was that a motion? We have a motion from John Echevarria. Second. And a second from Mayor Tran. Roll call, please.
Thank you. We have a motion by Member Echevarria and a second by Member Tran. Please state your votes for the record. Member Echevarria?
Yes.
Member Rigsby?
Yes.
Member Lilburn?
Yes.
Member Tran?
Yes.
And Member Sanchez?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 13, consider and discuss a report on the updated contracting and permitting requirements and procedures, and I'll look to our attorney.
Thank you. This is as you all know, with steady increases in operational activity in recent years, including the commercial passenger service offered by Breeze, the San Bernardino Airport is now categorized by the FAA as a primary non-hub commercial airport. Now, this designation carries with it some additional disclosures and monitoring of its commercial leases, contracts, licenses, and permits in conformance with the FAA's updated Title VI and Title II provisions, among others. These provisions have really been required anyway as a result of the deed covenants and grant assurances, but now with that designation, you have a formal requirement to include those provisions in contracts and in permits and what have you. There are multiple overlapping responsibilities, but predominantly Title II and Title VI of the Civil Rights Act prohibit discrimination against individuals because of their race, color, creed, religion, or national origin. What you see on the attachment to this staff report is an example of the updated provisions or the riders that go along with these contracts, if you will. If you turn to page 133 in the packet on Exhibit B, it contains a 3-page exhibit entitled Standard Non-Discrimination in Airport Development Provisions. While that is some pretty dense and detailed writing and lawyerese or legalese, however you want to call it, in general, those provisions just outline the standard for treatment of all individuals at the airport. We've been working with staff to incorporate these terms into all of the necessary agreements going forward. But because of the far-reaching nature of these provisions, we wanted to call them out to your attention and make sure that you are aware of them and their applicability to the airport. This may trigger a discussion in the future about what types of special event permits and activities that would be appropriate for the airport to continue and to issue permits for. But for now, this is just an informational item for you. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I appreciate that. Makes sense. So appreciate the information. And so this is an information item only?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions of our attorney? Great.
Is there a timeline on when you would bring back a formal policy on the sources?
So this actually is you're required to comply with this now. We're adding this this exhibit or this rider into agreements as we now formulate them. You're going to see them in almost every agreement.
So we don't need to worry about adopting these into our...
Nope, you don't need to worry about it. The minute you accepted money from the FAA, you agreed to their terms and conditions, and as they say, it's the golden rule. Whoever has the gold makes the rules, and in this instance, it's the FAA.
So maybe another informational item in the future telling us, because I know some of us have griped over some of the events that have been hosted.
Special events.
Special events, exactly. And so maybe
That's-
a clarifying thing. So, I mean, people reach out to us all the time about, hey, I want to host this at the airport.
Yeah,
And maybe we refer to you, obviously, but we can, maybe tell early
Yeah,
on, like, maybe not.
and that's the kind of stuff that you're going to have to decide. The busier you get, the more difficult it is to host those types of events. So this is where I think at some point in the future there will be a discussion about specifically what events do you want to host, what events are you going to be open for, and we'll need your candid direction on that.
And just, it would probably be appreciated if the committee was given enough notice instead of, we won't wait till the 11th hour so we can make a good judgment call for the airport. So appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, review status of the action plan. Mike?
This will be quick. You heard about your audit, and we've got some exciting things on the horizon for the new year. On behalf of staff, I just want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules for this special meeting and for your support and leadership this exciting year and on into the next. And happy holidays.
Great. Lots of good stuff going on, Mike. Thank you for all that, Mike and Mark. And Kat, where's Kat? Where is Kat?
Cat's on vacay.
Okay. All right. So, item J, any added or deferred items at this time? Nothing? Okay. At this time, I have no public comment. Do you have any public comment?
No public comments.
Great. We'll move on to commission member comments.
Just want to thank staff for all of your hard work this year, and exciting news about the Provo flight. I'm excited to take some flight with the family to snowboard and ski and visit the mayor of Provo. So thank you so much for all your hard work, and just wishing everyone, board members here, happy holidays. See you in 2025.
Okay. Dusty?
I'd like to thank the staff for all the easy work they did. She thank you for the hard work.
Thank you for the balance.
Teddy?
Yes, I want to thank staff as well, and I want to thank Penny for running such a smooth meeting today. I think this may be the first one you run, but you did a very good job.
Why, thank you, sir. Nothing? Okay. I just want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see you after the New Year. With that, we'll adjourn.